Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is we only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice-a-week long-form podcast, because I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take that, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. It's one of the many, many reasons why I proudly fly that American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. Happy Monday, everyone. Corey Buchan, Justin Berger, good morning. Jamie SP Freight, morning over on all of them over on YouTube. Sonny Sharma, good morning. Orange Shirt Freight Freaks over on LinkedIn. I'm going to pull my guests up right away, you guys, because we're here to talk about all things produce. And I've had both of them on my show. They're my produce guys. I love talking with them about literally everything when it comes down to it. So I got my man Alex Rivera coming back, rocking that Cincinnati hat. That's looking dirty, bro. I love it.
Thank you.
And then I also got
What's going
my
on,
man
Chris?
Cody.
How you doing this morning?
I'm doing well, brother. I'm doing well. I got my man Cody with A and Z Freight here as well. Man, we're here to talk all things produce. Alex, where are you at, bro? I see that dude Taco Bell in the background. That's looking good.
I'm working at Starbucks today out in Brundale. Yeah, we're actually making a transition from one office to another, and it's going to be a good thing. We got some changes coming up here at Titan. Obviously, you guys know that our company's growing, and we're under construction down in Santa Maria and all that good stuff. So our executive office is here in Salinas. We're kind of going through some changes and actually going through a move right now. So I'll be back in the office in about another week or so.
I like it because you guys are building a brand new facility, right? I think I saw that.
Yeah, it's under construction right now. It's almost on the finishing stages now. It's just getting all the prep stuff going and getting it all dialed in, and it's looking good though, man. It's a huge facility, I tell you that.
Dude, I got to come up there and check it out one day, man. I want to go out there. Am I allowed?
I'm excited for sure. I'll tell you that much.
Hell yeah, dude. So what's going on in the produce world right now? How are things looking? Because I know last year, with some weather and everything that kind of threw some things off. Are you guys predicting an early produce season? Because there's some unseasonably warm temperatures going on across the country right now. Or do you guys plant and grow and harvest at the same times every year with that? Or are you guys looking to plant early?
You want to answer that, Cody, or you want me to chime in first?
I haven't heard much chatter yet about Salinas. I know that Yuma's been unseasonably wet, especially for like the leafy green stuff. So it's been interesting. Nogales has been super slow too. This is like the slowest kickoff I've ever seen for Nogales because of the weather that they had down in Mexico this year. That hurricane really did some damage. But from a Salinas season standpoint, I actually haven't heard much. I need to start actually reaching out. So Yuma's kind of been so this year, to be honest with you, though. Nothing to write home to mom about, but nothing like crazy crazy low by any means. It's been kind of flat.
And out here in Salinas, I would say that, the way things have been in the last, few years and few seasons, we're starting to see a lot of rain in the later, springtime. So you can't really guess. I mean, right now, yeah, we got good weather, but then we'll get hit with a little rain. Then we'll get hit with some sun, and it's good for the plants. It's good for the product. But then we're expecting rain maybe in March, right? So it's still too early to tell. See what kind of season it's going to be, especially for the strawberry season. Obviously, that goes across the board with all produce. But if it's a wet weather like we had last year, it's going to be a slower season again. So,
yep.
One thing that I did, talk to people about in the past, and if they're really looking into getting the most accurate weather, I still talk to people and they say the Farmer's Almanac is probably one of the most useful tools that people still use. Some of the old school guys, they still use that Farmer's Almanac to be able to predict the weather and what's going to happen in that year. So maybe that's something somebody wants to look into and look into. I don't use it. I've used it in the past when I was in my QA days, but not no more.
Yeah, because it's
pretty accurate.
Yeah, because it seems like, again, because for me, it's always like, you see this all the time. Like, what's the freight market going to look like in 2024? How are things going to look out there? I think a lot of it, economic standpoint are pretty large indicators of it. But I also look at it the fact that with the industry that you guys roll in, like people are always going to eat, right? Like, well, at least for the most part. And it's always, I would say that out of everybody that I know, from a brokerage perspective, they all do produce to some source, but there's some providers that are really, really good. And then there's some providers that are not so good. And I always look at it from like, are you paying attention to weather patterns? Is there any, seasonal pushes that could be changing to get, to start early, right? Because I know that most produce season kicks off, out in Florida. Is it late March, early April, Cody, is when the most of that's, yeah. So it's like, how can you get ahead of that? And then, I was also thinking, because like where I'm from in northern Wisconsin and Minnesota, like it's in the 40s out there right now. So I know that if they don't get any inclement weather that comes through, I'm sure all those farmers out there are chomping at the bit to start getting some of their crops in the ground as early as they possibly can to try and, maximize their harvest. Or they might be looking at it as, dang, we're this dry over the winter. Are we going to be this dry over the summer? Is this, an indicator of there's going to be some form of drought that could be happening this year?
Yeah, and I mean, the good news about the wet weather last year in Salinas is at least a lot of the groundwater supposedly, filled back up. So I heard that drought is probably not, an issue this year, which is great. But, Alex can attest, like wet weather definitely slows down the harvest though. That's what a lot of people don't understand. It's like, if it rains that morning, there may not be a harvest that day, like at all, especially leafy greens and strawberries. Strawberries are super fickle. So a lot of it just depends on like week to week. I mean, everybody and their neighbor knows what happened the last 3 weeks weather-wise, right? And that kind of just destroyed some of the market everywhere else, especially Pacific Northwest. We move a lot of apples and onions out of there right now. Onions actually are shipping out of there right now. It moves down to Texas here in about a month and a half. But I mean, it can really destroy the market up there. It was horrendous trying to get trucks in and out of Pacific Northwest the last 3 weeks. Potatoes actually have been a bright spot though. Idaho, they had a really good crop this year. Mm-hmm. So it's been really strong demand out of there. Any carriers that are listening, any reefer carriers that can haul produce, I would suggest, take advantage of those rates for the next probably month and a half. Rates are really good out of Idaho right now, going anywhere. So, but kind of hard to tell this early from California standpoint, but at least it doesn't sound like drought's something we have to worry about.
Is that so? Are you guys talking about that, Alex, from a production standpoint? Are you guys looking at that, when it comes down to it? Are you guys paying attention to weather patterns? Are you guys paying attention to any of that stuff? Do you guys have like what I've always wondered that, right? Because like I grew up in a farming community and I know that all of those guys love rain, that's like there's literally country songs written about that rain is a good thing. But it's like I know that, because like I used to haul early on in my careers, we used to haul pipe out to fields and stuff like that and go direct to farmers. And that would always throw everything off, obviously, if there's any rain and stuff like that. So are you guys working on that from a production standpoint at all times? Or are you guys producing kind of 24/7, like 24/7, 365 essentially? So you guys constantly have crops around the West Coast that you guys are working with?
So there's a lot of different variables when it comes to at Titan, right? I can only speak for Titan and some of the other processors. Maybe they have the same setup, but I'll speak on Titan and what we do at Titan. So I don't know if you remember 2 years ago we had, I think, Cody, are you in Salinas as well?
No, I'm in Phoenix, but we have a facility in Salinas though, so I'm up there like every.
Okay, so a couple years back we had two. We had rains like in May.
Yep.
For like 2 weeks straight, mm-hmm. And that was in 2019. I think that was my first year at Titan. I was still learning how to do the production schedule, how to put things together for our production, right? So that's my job. And so when I came in 2 weeks later, after I had come into to Titan, we got hit with that rain. So for us, rain is good, and I'll tell you why. Anytime that the fruit gets to a point where it cannot go to market, we'll take all of it because we're going to process it, right? We can go straight into juice with it, right? It doesn't matter if it's wet. It doesn't matter if it has the calyx on it. It's going to go in straight into processing. We have filters. We'll take care of all that, right? We'll wash the berries. Everything's of use, just like a refrigerator, right? Mm-hmm. People don't want to waste anything inside the refrigerator. They're going to do whatever they got to do to make the best use of it, right? If the vegetables start going a little old, they start making stews or soups, et cetera, with that, with the vegetables. Well, same thing with the strawberries, right? There's a lot of variables that go into. Obviously, the weather has a lot to do with it. The timing of the fruit coming in, right? Depending on the time of year. It also depends on the pricing on the market, the fresh market, right? If the fresh market is looking for strawberries, they're going to want every strawberry they can. Mm-hmm. It's supply and demand, basic supply and demand. When the guys are out there selling strawberries and they know the product is good and there's no other product and it's limited, yeah, they're going to get the most that they can from it, right? Financially. Yep. There's going to be times when the market is low and salespeople got to get a little creative on what to do with the fruit, right? Do they go to the market? Do they ship it closer because it's not going to have legs to go across, the country? Was it raining? Can that affect the fruit? So there's a lot of different variables, and being in the business and being in QA and QC on the ground that I've seen and how it works out to get to where we're at, right? Obviously, we want every piece of fruit, but we know that, the market dictates what we get. So does the pricing. We got contracts to fulfill too, but doesn't mean that the growers are going to come to us. Their first goal is to take it to market. Here's 2 reasons why. The pricing is better at the market. You keep your customers happy. And then 3, you get to keep your harvesters happy, because harvesters don't like picking stuff that goes into a big box because it's 20 pounds. When they go to the market, it's only 8 pounds, right? 8.5 pounds, because there's clamshells. I think, what is it? 12? Is it an 8 count? 12. It's an 8 count box, right? So there's pounders. So there's 8 pounds per box. Mm-hmm. So you're picking and you're putting the calyx in, you're making it look nice for the box at 8 pounds versus throwing what you can inside the box that's 20-pound box. So it takes a lot longer to fill that box for us to process than for the market. And obviously the market box pays a little bit better for the harvesters. So, I mean, you have people that pick strawberries out here, Chris. My mom used to pick strawberries. She was probably bust out about 120 boxes a day. Dang. There's people out there right now that bust 150, 160, 175. I've heard of a high as 190, 200 boxes in one day. I mean, you're talking, if you come out here, you watch these guys, you watch them running in and out of the field, like, what the hell's going on? You got their boxes are running off the field. It's like, well, they're trying to take advantage of getting the box to the person who's going to stamp it and all that. And then he runs back and gets another one going. I mean, it's an art.
So is that have a lot to do? So like, is it, you're talking about like the pricing of strawberries. So is it like a day rate, or are they looking out there and like, hey, this is all a hypothetical example, but they're buying them or they're selling them for $1 a bushel today, and it could drop down to 80 cents the next day. So they're trying to capitalize on that higher purchasing price. Is that why
there's going to be 2 ways that they sell the product. There's going to be a contracted rate. Why they're going to try to look ahead and try to forecast out. They'll know, like their field people are going to come to the salespeople, say, okay, look, in a week, we're going to have 10,000 trays. In 2 weeks, it's going to start to pick up. Flowers are starting to bloom. Let's go to 25,000 trays. And in 3 weeks, we're on full season. We're going to be going 50, 60,000 trays in one day. So they give you that forecast. And okay, then the salespeople will say, okay, well, let's go ahead and get contract with HEB. Let's contract with the Walmart. Let's contract with these people. In the beginning of the season, they contract everything out, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, this is what we're going to have. They get an idea. And then they'll have to prorate by the time they get to the season. Maybe it rained, maybe there's not enough product, and they have to prorate, right? For the most part. And then some of the berry shippers, they still have product that they still got to get rid of, right? Product that comes in that doesn't have any contract, they still have to find a home for it. So you got to get very creative on what you do with that fruit. That fruit can't be there for 5 days and you try to send it to Florida. Well, it doesn't have much legs left. Is it going to make it? Probably not. So you have to be very creative, and you have to have good customers. you have to have good strategies on where to put the fruit, when to ship the fruit, how to ship the fruit. I mean, I know a lot of people don't like shipping strawberries because they say, "Oh man, they're very delicate." They're not delicate. You run an air shoot, you run your airbags, you 53 footer, 32 to 34 degrees, you won't have a problem with it. Strawberries will bruise on their own, right? But the less amount of bruising that you can, the better, right? So
Yeah.
you always got to make sure your equipment is good, your shoots are good, and the air is being distributed throughout the trailer, right? And I've hauled for strawberries all my life, man. I've hauled for the Driscolls. I've worked for Well Pick before. I've done business with Cal Giant. You name it, I've been there, done it. I've been in the fields. I've been, you know what I mean? So I kind of have an idea. I was jokingly saying this before I got into sales. I said, on the trucking side, I said, man, I'm getting so mad at some of these sales guys out there that I'm going to go take somebody's job and just make my name out there. I probably would have. If I would have gone into strawberry sales, I'd kill it.
Oh man. So Cody, how do you, hearing all of this? Cause again, like I do open deck in heavy haul, right? Like I got 4 over-dimensional loads literally loading today. We were talking about this and I was talking to Cody about it and he's like, yeah, I don't know anything about that. And this is why I love talking about produce though, because it's like, I have a baseline understanding, but this is all Cody does. So it's like, how do you take that? How are you working with your customers when you hear Alex talking about this to help expedite their shipping processes or really work with them to make sure like, hey man, this product has a finite shelf life. We got to get this out to salvage it, to, obviously to conserve profits or whatever that looks like. How are you doing that out there, man?
I mean, honestly, it's week to week and day to day, especially berries. Berries are, Alex, right? They're not fickle, but a lot of people don't realize like the berries that are getting on your truck, like that was harvested this morning. That's not from a day ago. That's not from maybe a day ago, but that's max, right? But that stuff's not sitting in a cooler for 2 or 3 days waiting for it to go over to Florida, for example, like Alex said, because he's right. It doesn't have legs. Like every day that produce is on a truck is a day that they're losing shelf life, right? Because as soon as you pick anything, whether it's berries or lettuce or apples or anything, it's dying, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, we run teams on basically anything past Texas, right? Just because even if they call for a solo, we're most likely going to run teams on it, especially berry loads. Berry loads will put teams on everything. I would rather 99.9% of your customers will take a berry load early because they know that they can push that product out and it's going to go to market. I mean, during the summer, especially like anytime you go into a grocery store, I shop at Fry's and Sprouts here locally. Every week there's berries on sale, right?
Yeah.
And it's front and center. As soon as you walk in the store, berries are right there. Because to Alex's point, like the fresh berries, I mean, the amount of money that you're spending on fresh berries versus frozen berries, it's got to be like probably 8 or 10x, right? So, they're pushing the crap out of that product, but it's fickle. And, the hardest thing is just the drivers, right? And so like we've been moving fresh produce for 20 years. So we have a very dedicated group of drivers that work with us. And they all understand, like, if you're showing up for a berry pick, like, you should make sure you bring your lunch with you because there's a good chance you might be waiting for 8 hours before you get loaded. But you got to check in. If you don't check in and, there's 10 other trucks that check in front of you, it doesn't matter what time your pickup time is. They're going to load the trucks that are there in the order that they check in. And as soon as they run out of product, if they don't have enough product for that day, you sit till the next morning and then you have to, load then. And then it's just the communication to the customer. But a lot of your customers, they're used to it. Berries, cherries. Cherries are another one that are a nightmare up in the Pacific Northwest. Cherries are probably the hardest thing to move, honestly. But it's just constant communication. The customers are used to it. They know that berries get pushed every day. So it's a pain in the butt. It's harder on the carriers, to be honest with you. It's harder on the drivers than anything. Because you can have a driver sitting there for 24, sometimes, 48 hours just waiting to get loaded depending on harvest and demand. And, nobody wants to do that, especially team drivers, right? No team driver wants to sit for 2 days and not get loaded.
Yeah, it's, and that's the thing, right? And again, like, this is why I always love the specialization factor of all things freight, right? It's because like, it's that intrinsic knowledge that, obviously, Alex, you've been in produce literally your entire career, working on every side of the industry as a broker, carrier, and now on production and everything. So it's like, that's what it just makes it so much more valuable to work with those people who only specialize in that. And that's why I pump it, Alex, both the podcasts that we've done, how much have we talked about? That's how you have to sell as a broker is find that niche and specialize in that, because it is that knowledge where you can compare notes, right? Like you got to sit down with your shipping partners and your customers, and you got to work through this stuff during harvest times, peak seasons, and everything else, because like that's your guys' big money maker, right? I would assume is your harvest times throughout the year. That's when it's like, hey, we got to get this stuff out. We have contracts that we have to go out there. Cause like you guys, Alex, are you guys are buying from farms and then you guys go and sell them to larger companies and everything? Or are you guys kind of like an intermediary from that stuff at that point?
So what we do is we buy it from the shippers. We buy the strawberries or whatever product that we're bringing in. Because right now we started flirting a little bit with some blackberries and doing some work with blueberries.
Yeah.
Obviously, with our company growing and becoming the size it's going to be, new facility, God knows what else we're going to do. But right now, like I said, it's the berries. And depending on what you get, you'll contract with some of these folks that, they'll do a day-to-day. They'll have a forecast, right? Okay, sales is going to do this. This is what's going to go to Fresh Market. Okay, this is what's going to go to Titan. This is, because some of our people, we do have contracted rates for some product, right? Especially the freezer fruit, which is going to be the number one clean fruit. They slice it right there in the field. It goes into the box. They wash it, and then they quick freeze it. So that goes to like, that goes to like the Costco's, the Walmarts, and stuff like that once it's frozen and goes into those packs. But it just all depends, Chris. It just all depends on where the product's going to go. But yeah, we do buy from different shippers around the state of California and in Baja, right? So, for instance, shippers like Cal Giant, we buy strawberries from them. If they can't move it on the Fresh Market, we'll move it on our side, right? If we're able to do it. Even throughout the season when the market rate is high, they still have a contract to get us a little bit of fruit, right? So we're just like, basically, we're just going to be an overage of what they can't sell. So we're opportunists, right? We're waiting for our opportunity. We're waiting for the rain to come. The big rain, that's what we're waiting for. You know what I mean? And
I got you.
We'll take every strawberry that comes in during the rain. But like I said, in 2019, my first year, we must have got hit with 150,000 trays. The first couple of days, the facilities were packed. Frontier Cooling was packed. Like, hey, when you guys gonna get this product out? We could only process about in Santa Maria. We were only able to process about 18,000 trays, which is about 20,000 trays. That's going to be 10 truckloads of all juice. That's all we're able to process. So anything that comes up above that, if you're coming in at 40, 50, 60,000 trays in one day, and you're only operating 20,000, you're going to get backed up. But the thing about the juice fruit, strawberry fruit, because it has a calyx, it's still breathing a little bit, it can last, has a little longer shelf life. It can go on for 7 days. We can process it within 7 days, but anything after 7, we can't process it anymore because it starts to go bad, right? We got filters, we got everything that needs to be, to take care of the fruit, make sure it's all healthy and make sure everything's going to pass. Freezer fruit, we're only able to process 10,000 in one day.
Okay.
So we can go 24/7. I mean, our plants don't stop. We process 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
And Alex, you guys don't do anything fresh, right? You're just processed?
All processed.
Okay.
All processed, yeah. We do a little bit of fresh for Costco. We do a little bit of fresh for a company out in Oregon that processes all of the jelly for the organic jelly that they sell for peanut butter and jelly at Costco. So we process that right now. We're currently processing that fruit in Salinas, and it goes up to Costco. I mean, to Portland, and then they put it in jars and they do the rest of it. So we have some contracts with some folks that we co-pack together and all that good stuff. And so we're pretty well. It just depends on what the customers.
Yeah. So how are you guys deciding that, Alex? Is it just like, is that after quality control goes through it, you guys are deciding like, hey, this has to be frozen. This is going to go to this customer, or, what does that look like?
So I guess when the fruit comes in, you already know what you're going to get. The juice berry, anything that goes in the juice tray, remember with the little green calyx, it doesn't matter what goes in there. You can have a little bit of rot in there. You can have a little bit of water on there. It doesn't have to be a perfect berry. The other strawberry, obviously, it has to be a grade A berry. It still has to be able to go to market, basically, except it's going to get frozen.
Gotcha.
So we try to pack as much as we can whenever we can. I think 2 years ago, last year, I don't think we packed as much as the previous years, but the last, what was it, 2023, 2022, 2021, we processed over 120 million pounds of strawberries.
Jeez.
2022, we processed over 150 million pounds.
Dang.
So we're talking, we are the biggest strawberry processor in North America.
So what you're saying
The new facility coming in, it's going to be that much bigger.
So what you're saying is, Alex, is my wife who buys frozen strawberries all the time is probably I'm indirectly your customer, my man. So like whatever we got to do from our household, I guess.
Yeah. No, like I said, man, it's a lot of fun watching what they do. I mean, I love watching my production team and process and how everything works, man. It's just so there's not a wasted berry, man. These guys capture every strawberry they can. They don't matter how big or how small. It's all going to be used, and we try to use as much as we can for everything.
That's wild. That's so much. Like,
those are big numbers.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. I mean, a lot of people, you think like there's a strawberry processor here in Watsonville. It's a smaller one. So when people ask me, they say, "What do you do?" Well, that company's called Del Mar. I said Del Mar is a little smaller than us, but everybody knows the company. I say I work for a company like that, but we're about 30 times bigger than them. Which is pretty honest. You know what I mean? It's just strawberries here at Titan is just a whole nother level.
Man, that's awesome though, right? Because I don't know, like I no matter what, to me, it's always like the opportunities are out there, right? Like this is what people got to really look into as you're trying to develop business, or really if you're, like, again, a lot of people want to offer produce, or they want to go after produce shippers and stuff like that. Like, to me, this is the technical knowledge that you would need to trip anybody's attention, right? And it's
right.
not, this isn't the open invite to go after Alex here, ladies and gentlemen, at all. But I'm just saying, though, like, this is the stuff, like, I would assume if somebody comes into you or Cody, I would assume this is what you guys are talking about with your customers and stuff all the time about, because, like, what's Alex, what's the general value of one shipment of strawberries? What's the cargo value?
Of what? One load?
Yeah.
120?
120.
Yeah. If it's organic, I mean, we were seeing $180 last year for full organic loads.
Yeah. So to me, it's like it's specialized freight, right? At the end of the day, if you're going to do that. And, because I saw a post this morning, somebody had put up there, like, some brokers don't carry insurance and they're looking about doing all this stuff. I mean, Alex, that's got to be an instant get away from me if somebody, if you find out they don't have cargo insurance as a broker, right?
Oh, they don't have, I'm telling you, man, when it comes, I used to be a broker, so I know all the ins and outs just like all you guys do.
Yeah.
So when I vet carriers, believe me, I know what to look for. I Google, I go on Safer Web. I make sure that everything is tedious and everything's got, I'm not going to play with it. Like I said, I've been at Titan for 5 years already, right? Going on 5 years in April. I've had one claim in the time that I've been here. And I take a lot of pride in that. I just closed that claim. This happened this last season on a drop trailer, got stolen. But I'm very, very particular when you speak to people, you got to understand and talk to them in that lingo, right? I always, just because of my dispatching days, I'm always real anal when it comes to dispatching my guys or tendering them the loads. I always remind them, right? Doesn't matter who it is, what it is. I know that they're drivers and that they know how to do it. You always got to remind them and basically talk to them like they're kids sometimes, man. And they appreciate it. Even though you tell them, you got to remind them, set the temperature at this. And you don't know what some of those drivers have got going on at home. Maybe they're stressed out. They're not thinking straight. Well, you're there as a dispatcher to do your job. And I take a lot of pride in that too. When I was dispatching, I never had very many issues. And there was a lot of fraud going on in those days. And people were trying to defraud the company and money, and it's just you got to be very careful. Always got to be on alert when it comes to this. So when people come to me at Titan, they say, "Oh, I got this, and I'm a broker." And I told people before, I don't use brokers. It's very rare that I use brokers. I had to use them during COVID a little bit, but other than that, I really don't need them. I have trucking companies that go all over the place, all asset based. I know they got yards. I know they got security. I know that you know what I mean. And I try to protect our company as much as we can, because I know what happens out there. Trailers get stolen. Brokers and carriers are going online and they're pretending somebody they're not, and then they double broker, and then all of a sudden somebody's calling, hey, is this your load? Well, yeah, but where's it going? It's going to this. And we've had situations like that where I worked at one of the companies where I was at as a broker. He tendered out a load. Next thing you know, the company's calling us like, hey, where am I supposed to take this load? I said, well, you guys should know where you guys got the tender and everything. They're like, well, we don't even, these people had no idea we were even the brokers.
Oh, wow.
We still had to finish. And once they finished doing that job, they wanted to get paid because they knew they were in some kind of scam.
Yeah.
But just, the way things work, people are always trying to get up on everybody, always trying to rob somebody or steal from somebody, man. And that's why, for me, it's a lot easier to use asset-based carriers, especially if I've seen their trucks around, I've seen their trailers around. I know their people, I know their operations, I know where they're at physically. Those are the types of things I look for. You know what I mean? I dig very deep. I will dig deep. I will find people's homes. I will, whatever. Straight up. Another thing you got to understand is that, how are they as people? Do they have kids? Are they single? Some of these single guys just want to go out there and make a ton of money. These guys that got families, they work a little harder. They're a little bit more responsible.
Yeah.
Those are all the types of things that I look for when I'm vetting carriers. I'm not just going to, oh, well, this guy just sent me an email. Or she's pretty. She sent an email with her face on it. You know what I mean? And it's not even like that,
Dude, I love it, man. But hey, I appreciate you guys both for joining me. I like to keep these shows right at that 30-minute mark. And, at the end of the day, you guys don't ever take advice from me. Take advice from a guy who literally decides every single day who he does or does not want to work with at the end of the day. We talk about it all the time, but decision makers, he's the one telling you. And again, this is not an open invite to go in. Alex has graciously given us his time in the past. And I love having him on here as a resource and somebody for you guys to use to apply to your prospecting and everything else. But as always, you guys, if you guys got value in what you heard, subscribe to the show, you guys. Share it out there because at the end of the day, if you got value, chances are your network's going to see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. And we'll be talking to you soon.